Well, thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate everyone's time. I know that we all have busy lives and are scattered and have all kinds of responsibilities. So I want to take the best use of today's time just to make sure you're at the right place. Today, we're going to have an in-depth conversation around getting your users excited about Salesforce. Today, you're going to be, connecting with myself. I'm actually, ex-Salesforce, was there for, I don't know, little under 6 years. Had experience both prior to being at Salesforce, using Salesforce, and using Salesforce at Salesforce. So have some of my own personal experience with being a user of the product. I'm not going to be taking too much of the majority of today's conversation. I've got my counterpart, Bomlock, or like we like to say, Bam, the man. He's going to be driving today's conversation. He's one of our best consultants that we've got in-house, and I'm really looking forward to delving into the topic of just increasing user adoption at Salesforce. It's not just a two-man show. So Agile is actually growing pretty expansively. We've got quite a variety of team members that are not all able to be here. But from Agile to you, we all thank you for your time today. Wanted to give everyone just a quick insight into Agile, who we are, just to give you some context prior to getting into the user adoption. So if you're not familiar with Agile Cloud, we actually came originally from an organization called Round Corner back in the mid 2000s. Highly specialized organization with high touch, large scale digital transformation organizations, talking seven-figure big projects, not exclusively though. A lot of deals in the mid-sized tier as well. We had our own app exchange practice and built a couple of different products there. We had our own professional services. Fast forward time, that was appealing enough that actually Salesforce acquired Round Corner, and from there, Agile Cloud was born. Over that time, we've grown steadily but responsibly, starting with 70 full team members in the U.S. Now we're up to 100 non-customer facing and 70 staff here. So we've grown quite a bit over time. A lot of our team members here have a very strong background in Salesforce. In fact, our founder is written a few best-selling published books with Salesforce. We're an Inc. 5000 organization 3 years in a row and considered one of the fastest companies growing in the country. We're also a summit partner, which, if you're not aware of what that is, it means that we're basically in the top 5% of the Salesforce SI ecosystem, which is not an easy thing to do. So we're very happy with that. In extension, we have, very low attrition rate, which I would say is something unique that we are able to provide to our end customers. Folks want to stick around. They love it here. They don't want to leave. That's just a testament to the amazing culture that we've got here as well. So just a little bit of a quick and concise view into who Agile is. Who do we work with? So we've got a very large presence in NGO. In fact, that's a big piece of our business that we operate in. However, we're very engaged with associations, memberships, certification bodies, and high tech. I'm on the commercial side, so work with a lot of high tech organizations. Our founders have that background, and we've got a good mix of manufacturing, mid tech, financial services, home security, just to name a few. In terms of again, who are we? What makes us a little bit unique and different? As you can see, we've got a lot of core values that align with Salesforce and their mantra, and is really unique to us just as well as an organization. We've executed on a ton of projects. We're at like 600 plus at this point. We've got a 60 plus person team, like I mentioned before, 5-star ratings. So proof is in the pudding. That 5-star just echoes the sentiment from our customer base of how happy and pleased they are with our level of work. We also have a wide variety of expertise, which is what you're seeing on the right here. So outside of Salesforce, which is a majority of our business that we work within, we also have specializations around Snowflake. We can do web development. We are able to do staff augmentation. So there's a variety of things that we can do to help any customer grow. In fact, like I mentioned, on the services side, you might approach us if hey, we're trying to implement Salesforce, but we don't know how, or maybe there's some customizations we need. We can help there. We have managed services. So maybe if you're an instance with some of your users, you don't know how to set up user permission profiles. Maybe you need some reporting. Maybe there's some expertise or some areas within Salesforce that just seem overwhelming and you're not staffed correctly to confront that. We can provide some fractional models of work where we can get an architect involved to give, an organization best practices. In addition, again, like you saw the logo in the previous slide, Snowflake, maybe you've got, some sort of an implementation or design motion that you need to execute with that platform. We can help there. We can help with application dev work, mobile app stuff. So there's a lot there to unpack, but that's a little bit about us. And without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton to my man, Ban, the man.
Thank you, Nate.
You got
And
it.
hello, everyone. And thank you for coming and joining us today. My name is Bamla Kylie, as Nate said, but most of the time people call me Bamlak when I've gotten into trouble, so I prefer going by Bam. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been working with Agile for the last 4 years, and as Nate said, it is very difficult to leave Agile because it's a great place to work. But over the time that I've spent working with various clients, both for-profit and nonprofit, I thought it would be helpful, and we thought as a team it would be helpful to share some of our learnings about user adoption and how important it is. And just wanted to start off by saying, user adoption is not just about, your organization has now implemented Salesforce, but implementation is only the first step, and you need people to start using it. Do you only tell that people are using it by the amount of times people have logged in? Or do you need people to interact with it a lot more? And from our understanding and our experiences, people engaging with Salesforce and any system that you implement and having that user adoption from your team is the best way to get the full benefits of having Salesforce within your organization. So from what we've learned over the past implementations, I'd love to share some of our experiences. What we've seen and what we've seen work is having these multifaceted approach and having or gaining user buy-in. One and the first step would be executive buy-in, and it's usually in the leadership realm that decisions are made to adopt a new system, or let's say we'll stick with Salesforce, but implementing Salesforce is usually a leadership decision, either to make your processes easier or to gain more effectiveness and efficiency, etc. But having that executive buy-in initially, then getting end user engagement, training and enabling the end users, managing the changes that you're implementing in your organization, and providing support and feedback, which is on an ongoing basis, is the best way for your users to adopt to Salesforce fully. I'll dive deeper into each of these. We'll start off with the executive buy-in, and this is where it all starts. The leadership team has made the decision to start working with Salesforce, and once that decision has been made, we believe that it's a great way to start by clearly communicating why this has been done and what the benefits of the new system is, how it makes things easier for the organization. Is it going to help with providing better grants? Is it going to boost profits? Is it going to make it easier for the users to get their work done? And is it going to improve their efficiency and effectiveness? So clearly communicating why and the use of the new system implementation is one of the best ways to get started. Once that's been done, showcasing success by showing maybe success stories that from other organizations and showing how it has helped other organizations on a similar level to get more success in whatever venture they've been in, how it has helped business partners or etc., can really help in getting the end user excited. Once that's been done, for leadership, it's really effective when leadership starts to ask for reports and dashboards and make those decisions based on the reports and dashboards that are built within Salesforce. Bringing all of that work that's being done outside on Excel or etc., bringing it into Salesforce and showing and demanding that the information and the decisions that are going to be made are going to be based on Salesforce really helps and shows people how important the new system is being taken. Accountability is another point that I wanted to touch on. And what we what I wanted to say about accountability is it's great that Salesforce has been implemented into organization, but it's not only the end users that need to be held accountable for using it. Everybody within the organization, from top to bottom, needs to start using it and need to be held accountable and make sure that everybody feels that this new system that has been implemented is being used throughout the organization. Finally, having Salesforce champions, somebody to champion the new product, to show why it is that it's helping somebody in the leadership team, I mean, that can show the rest of the team why it's being used, how it's being used, and why it's a great tool, is a good way of showing the rest of the team why Salesforce has been implemented and how it's helpful for the whole organization. Secondly is end user engagement. And this is one of the most important pieces. The executive team has made the decision and now it's been implemented. But how do you get that end user engagement? Do you only see, like I said earlier, how many times people have logged in, or do you actually want to start seeing how people are using it on a day-to-day basis? So the first way to get that is by highlighting the benefits, like I mentioned earlier, by showing the end users how their day-to-day is going to get better, how their processes are going to get easier, and how they can become more effective and efficient. Allowing the end user to personalize it, whether it's by creating their own reports, their own dashboards, but also making it easier for them to feel like this is their new cubicle where they're going to be working, and making sure that they feel at home when they're in Salesforce. Gamification, this is something that Salesforce is very good at, and it's something that I've personally benefited from. Trailhead and etc. is one of the best ways to learn Salesforce. And what makes Trailhead so great is that not only are you learning, but it's also gamified for you to feel like you're winning when you get a badge, and you continue to learn by going through trails. So kind of bringing the same concept into your organization and having leaderboards or badges that show, okay, who's been using Salesforce the most, what has, let's say a person has created more dashboards, and highlighting the fact that person within your team has been using Salesforce more, and having that leaderboard and gamifying the use can make it a lot more easier for people to adopt this new system. Another thing that's really important is having the team give continuous feedback, and giving that opportunity for the team to say what's been difficult to use about the system, what's been easy, what can be done better. Sometimes, the end user has an idea of using the processes in an easier or simplified method, where they don't have to go through the previous processes, and make it easier for everybody to adopt to Salesforce much better. Finally, in the end user engagement, just like you did in the executive, having people or identifying people that can be champions of the system, that are power users, and this is usually how accidental admins are created, by having those people that are really engaged with Salesforce, and having them show and be helpful to the rest of the team can be really helpful in adopting Salesforce. This is a very important part, the training and enablement part. And when we do implementations at Agile, we always make sure that training is part of the implementation process. And it's something that we really try to put in a lot of hours to make sure that everybody feels comfortable with what's been built. So having those role-based trainings, depending on how the individual is going to be using Salesforce, and making sure that they have all the necessary tools and feel comfortable with using the system for their particular work, will really help in adopting Salesforce. Secondly is having hands-on workshops, which will show the greater team how a scenario that is very relevant to their day-to-day work, and how that can be solved using Salesforce, and how that can be very helpful to their day-to-day activities. So holding those workshops and showing people how to use Salesforce can be very, very beneficial. And then encouraging your team to do the video tutorials, going on Salesforce and joining trailhead and doing the trails, encouraging trail mixes, creating an organization-based trail mix that really pertains to what you are doing on a day-to-day basis. We really encourage people to do more learning and feel more empowered to use the system. If and in this part, onboarding programs, let's say somebody from your team won the lottery and leaves the organization, and you have somebody new joining your organization. It's always really important to put a training in place to enable the new team member to be up to date with what systems you're using and get them really acquainted with the systems that they're going to be using. So having those as part of onboarding programs is really important. And then finally, having an ongoing support system to have people ask questions on a regular basis, whether this is on a monthly basis, a bi-weekly basis. It's really important that people feel supported as they're working with this new system, getting additional knowledge as necessary, and being able to ask questions on what's been difficult, what's been confusing, and what's been easy to work with. Another thing that's really important in this change management should be implemented throughout the implementation from the very first time that the decision is made to implement Salesforce, and then it has to be an ongoing process. Communication is very important. We understand that the decision has been made in the leadership level, but it's really, really important to communicate why and how it's going to be used within the organization. So having that constant communication and letting people know what's being implemented and why it's being implemented is really, really important for everyone to have that buy-in into the new system that's being um, implemented. And then getting those end users involved throughout implementation process throughout the implementation process is really important. They're the ones that are going to be having the day-to-day interaction with the system or going to be doing the bulk of the work within the system. So having the end users give feedback throughout the implementation and use of the system will really allow your organization to not only really provide a better platform for user adoption, but it'll also help you to make your system much better, as I said earlier. Documentation is another big part of what we provide as Agile in our implementation processes. After providing training, we make sure that we provide a documentation document that shows what's been done and why it's been done. And having that will always allow you to see what was built, why it was built, and how it should be used. And this will always, let's say, if you need to make changes to the system or you need to incorporate it into your training program, this will be something that's very, very important for your processes. And then having pilot programs before going live with your system, having like small work groups where people can really try in teams to work within Salesforce so they can feel more comfortable before it's fully rolled out. And finally, in the change management, being really proactive and answering the questions that have been, I spoke about having Q&A sessions, but when questions arise, being really proactive in addressing those concerns and providing solutions or explaining as to why X was built the way that it was can be really, really helpful in your adoption process. And then finally, this is a leap on the last point that I made, but ongoing support and feedback is really important. Encouraging your team to be part of this various Salesforce groups, whether that's online or in person. I know after during COVID, it had really gone down because meeting in person was not allowed at the time, but having people go to these user community groups can really help people feel more comfortable by being with people that are using Salesforce in various ways, and people can learn online on how, like, little hacks on how to use Salesforce. So really maybe introducing, if the organization is big enough, introducing a user group within the organization. But if not, encouraging people to go out and meet other professionals within the Salesforce ecosystem can be really, really helpful. And this is something that I've benefited from personally. So I would like to encourage people to do that. And then having regular check-ins to see what people are facing and how they're using it, or if they have any questions or issues that have arisen while they've been using the system, can really help in solving those problems, but also help you better your system and make it easier for the end user. And then by implementing performance matrix, this is by seeing at the beginning of the workshop I mentioned, is it only by people logging in? But of course, seeing how many people have logged in and how many times they've logged in is really important to see if they're actually using the system. But seeing similar trends can really help you track the usage of the system. And then continuous improvement based on the support, the feedback that you've received on the various points that I've mentioned so far, making sure that those are addressed quickly can really help people to feel more comfortable. So they don't feel like, oh, it's still having that bug or it still has that issue. And I prefer to go back to the old way of doing things. So instead of having people doing that, it's really important that anything that's come up is addressed and the improvements are made on that. And then finally, having internal support channels. It could be a group, it could be a group on Slack, or it could be an internal meeting where people can surface their requests, their questions, etc. And having those addressed can really help your organization adopt to Salesforce better. And I hope what I've spoken about so far has been helpful to you. Thank you so much for spending the last 25 minutes with me. And I hope we'll see you guys soon. But I'll pass it back to Nate to take questions.
Yeah, close us out. Yeah. Yeah, listen, it was awesome. Thank you. I've used Salesforce in a variety of different ways. Hopefully today's session was at least helpful in terms of providing some context. And I'll put it this way, if you guys need anything else from me, my contact information is there. Please don't be shy. Here at Agile, we're very consultative. And so anything that we can do to kind of help you on your journey with Salesforce, we're here for it. So thank you so much for your time.